I was going through my TikTok messages just recently, and someone requested self-respect and knowing when to walk away. I can actually dive in on this pretty well. So let's take it back to freshman year. Freshman year me, I was very timid. I kind of let everybody walk all over me. Um, Suffered with depression a little bit of anxiety here and there. My life wasn't all that bad though. Freshman year of high school. Don't let it get too bad. But I was with a girl for a very long time actually. I think a year and a half, almost 2 years, and she was just not good for me. I think she lied a lot. I think she cheated on me a few times. And she would change her answers on stuff. Like I remember, I don't know if any of you have this at your school, but there's something called homecoming that we have, and it's like a formal dance. And I remember just being so like anxiety ridden that night. I was just quiet and I didn't say anything, and I didn't say anything to anybody. And a week later, I asked her because she had been crying that night about me, just like my behavior and whatnot. And I asked her that night if I had like ruined it for her, and she said yes, like numerous times. And like I get it, I understood it then. But then a week later, I asked again. I said, "Hey, how did you feel that night?" And she was like, "I didn't feel anything about it. I didn't think you like ruined it or anything." And I thought that was weird because she had told me numerous times that night that I had ruined it, and she didn't talk to me very much the next day because I thought she was so mad. But I like confronted her about it, and I said, "Well, why are you changing your answer?" And she just said, "I don't remember what I said that night. That was so long ago, but it was only a week ago." And that was just like a small thing, you know. But and then there were other times like I went to Disneyland in 2021 for Halloween with my family, and I remembered her phone like died, and she went to two Halloween parties and she just wasn't texting me until like the next morning, and I was very naive as a kid. I was very naive and I let women have the best of me. I didn't think I had their best interest, and now as I'm older, I know what to look for in women. Like, how honest are you? Like, what's your character? And I see certain women, and I don't just look at their like physicalities. I look at their shell. I look at like what's inside of them. Yeah, yeah. I'll see like a good looking woman, and I'll want to go up to her, like talk to her. But I think in my head like, oh, maybe she's like evil deep down. But you can't live with that your whole life. You can't. I see a lot of this in a lot of relationships and a lot of people. They bring past experiences with them. Like, I know I know one of my friends, his girlfriend, got cheated on numerous times with her past boyfriends, and he always has to deal with her just like saying stuff and like being so in fear of him cheating. But he's a good guy and he wouldn't do anything like that. And I'm not just saying that just because I'm his friend and I would like, and but I just like, you can't have a notion about people. You can't just like stick with the same ideology about everybody your whole life, because that's just fear and you're living in fear. It's like you can't let that control you. You got to know when enough is enough. And that's the thing with like anxieties and depressions. You bring this into your relationships, but you kind of hold that away from your partner for a bit. When you first meet a girl, or when a girl first meets you, there's always that wall. There's always that little boundary of comfortability. And I've noticed this in many like visitations I've had in women, or with women, or like full relationships, or even little just like month little flings. But I've noticed how people just like can shell themselves and or shelter themselves and just hide, to the point where it's like, how do you just like keep going? How do you just reveal yourself one day? And it's just an overtime thing. I tell people a lot, but people don't like to see the truth, and it's hard for a lot of people. It's hard for a lot of people to accept what they don't know, but they also live in fear of what they do know. And there's a certain level of acceptance you have to get over with being in a relationship and wanting to know someone, because you can't just be in a relationship and just like be with someone. You have to be like mentally with someone, spiritually with someone, you know? I mean, physically with them is great too, but that's not my main point. Um, but you also have to learn self-respect. What is okay for you? Okay, well, every time I've ended a relationship or a relationship has ended, I always reflect. I always take some months or some weeks and I reflect before I like start talking to women again, because I don't want to keep bringing past experiences with me. Because if I break up with somebody and I immediately jump to another girl, yeah, I'm hopping around, but it's like I'm not learning anything. I'm not experiencing anything, or I experienced it, but I didn't like how am I trying to say this? I didn't like learn anything from it. And that's the thing with people, is they don't try to learn. They're the same person forever. That's why I've had to drop friends. I've had to drop girlfriends in the past before, or even just like little flings. Like, they're not growing up. They're not seeing like who they are. And that's the thing with people sometimes, is that they don't see like who they are truly. They don't understand their feelings and their emotions. And I fear my emotions sometimes. I fear who I can be sometimes. Because I can say some nasty things. Don't even let that fool you. But you can't just be one person forever. You have to constantly be evolving. And that's the thing with like loving someone as well, is you can't just like love someone one way, because the next day your feelings are slowly going to change for them, and you have to learn how to love them again. And that's not saying that you don't want to be with them anymore. Like, when your relationship gets stale, you have to learn how to reignite that spark. There's always a spark in a relationship. And I remember my freshman year girlfriend, when she wanted to break up with me, I had gotten a job and I had the money now to like do nice things, and I had my license and I was trying to save it. I was like, no, 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 this isn't how we should end it, because it was really good and it was for a long time. But now that I look back on it, I think it was healthy for me to step away from that. I think it was a good thing for me to just realize, like, I need to be by myself, and that helped me. And when I got my next girlfriend, I was a little bit better. I was still childish. It was junior year. I was probably like 16 going on 17. Yeah, yeah. And I just, I'll admit, like, I have not been a good boyfriend sometimes, and I still am not sometimes. But that's the thing with learning, is that you just have to keep evolving. You have to keep like reinventing yourself, basically. So my main point is, don't let relationships walk all over you. You're in control of your life and who you are and what you do with a relationship. Don't let a girl tell you that your feelings are invalid, or you need to act a certain way, or even my women. I'm not like even for my women. The same thing goes the same way. I don't let men tell you how to do things. I get some women are very religious, and religion comes into play, that you should service your men, service your husband or your boyfriend, because that's yours, that's your like sacrament. And but I see a lot of people like just sacrifice themselves for their significant other. And I wonder sometimes, like what is the limit on how far people are willing to go? And it never occurred to me that some people just love someone so hard that they would take a bullet for them or just kill someone for them. And I learned that over the years, that like you can be with someone healthily and you can love somebody, because I grew up in a yelling household. I grew up in a household where I was unstable, and we just didn't really have like structure or foundation. And for my people out there who have also been in these situations, I just want you to know that, like, you're in control of your own life. Like, you have your own abilities to love and appreciate people however you would like. And there's no right way to be in a relationship. There's no wrong way, but there's definitely a way to treat people. And a reflection of how you treat yourself, or how you treat yourself, is a reflection of how you'll treat people, Because if you don't have respect for yourself, you're not going to have respect for others. But there are also people who put themselves on the line more than they do for others. And just like I see this a lot in people who do a lot more for other people than they do for themselves. And it's never healthy, It's never healthy for any side. And just a lot of people don't understand where to draw the line at. So, for someone to get into a relationship and just be all about them, that's great. But some people like lose their identity and they lose who they are. They get out of focus with their friends. They lose their goals and motivation. and it tears people apart. And some people don't know how to walk away and get out of a relationship. You know, I've seen many people get into relationships and just completely have a false identity of who they are, and just completely like lose all sense of everything, and they don't know where to go after they've broken up, because their whole identity was their relationship. And now that they don't have that anymore, they don't know what to do. You know, I've seen people drop out of school for girls. I've seen women like throw away their careers just to be with bums. You know, and it's one thing to want to be with someone, but it's another thing to have a falsehood of someone, or a false ideology of someone. So I don't know, just be wary of who you are, and how you handle things. You know, don't let people control you or tell you how good of a person you are, or how bad of a person you are. But always take criticism. You know, don't let people like walk all over you. You know, criticism is good. Criticism allows me to learn from things, and especially criticism from you guys. You know, if you guys are like, hey, this video is kind of weak, you know, here's what you could do to help it, you know, okay, I'll accept that. You know, if you guys want to message me or like privately DM me, that's fine too, you know. But you know, crowd control, you know, don't let everybody have a voice on you. You know, you're in control of your own book, your own story. So I love you guys. See you later.